We're talking ball to do it with our friend Perry Orth, former quarterback at South Carolina. He is a part of the newest episode of Tailgate Talks, which is out on our app. It actually got out this morning, and it is excellent. A bunch of quarterbacks just sitting around drinking beer and talking ball. What could be better than that, huh, Perry?
Man, that was a fun little deal. I was honored to get invited. Not sure why I was, but I'll take it.
I'm not sure why you were either, to be honest with you, but it made it. I'm just kidding, dude. I'm just kidding. I'll tell you why you were invited, because you had to babysit quarterbacks last weekend. You've got a baby of your own, and then you got Steven in town. That's a tough job.
No, he was good, man. He's tame now. We got to get him. We got to get him back into his glory days.
Yeah, that's right.
Honestly, I think Garcia was in prime form 2017. You know, they talk about his baggage in college, and I'd be willing to put up the baggage of those first few years of camps that we did together against anything that he was doing in college. But it was good. It was funny. I didn't get a chance to re-listen to. I do remember he made a comment because they were like, they had the good quarterback, you know, the good quarterbacks on one side, and then, you know, the troublemakers on the other. And he was like, you know, it's good you got, Garcia was like, it's good you got Perry in the middle. He said, you know, he used to sneak around. He wasn't as public about his baggage as we were.
That's a good point. Yeah. A few of you have a record, or a few of them have a record, we should say, but we'll leave that there. You don't, neither does Connor. All right. So what'd you see? Game one, Perry, give us your synopsis.
Man, it was a great way to start, right? Get the turnover, quick score. But just kind of fell flat after that. I think they scored. They threw that deep ball. You know, I want to touch on the keys to the game that we talked about last week. Remember, we talked about taking care of the football, won the turnover battle. We talked about, who was that? Was that me and JC? We're talking about not getting beat over our head. How was the secondary going to respond to that? And as soon, JC, I thought about you when the second that happened. I was like, you know, we talked about that. Not that we don't know anything about football, but
I was guessing. I find things to worry about before the opener.
Yeah, but it came to pass. I think the highlights is we talked about the pass rushers, and the abilities that those guys have. I think that was clear as day. I think we're going to be really strong on that front. Running the ball, I was hoping to see a few more explosive runs. I loved the diligence to it. Now, our fingers were crossed on that we were going to run the quarterback. I don't think that we thought it was going to be 24 times. Yeah, I don't think that we had the just like the connectivity. We were not in sync offensively, and that caused some issues. And it's crazy how you can have a drive moving, and the next thing you know, a penalty happens, and you're 2nd and 20, and it really just kind of destroys the whole drive. Or you have a negative play or a drop ball or a bad throw, and it's just something is off that stifles the drive. And that really kind of seemed to be the theme of the day, for me at least. But, I think Old Dominion, ODU, they're going to have a good team. They weren't a bunch of slouches, I can tell you that. They looked the part. They didn't look like a lower-level team. They looked good in uniform. And, it wasn't – I can echo the same message. I don't think it was what we all had expected. Now, did we all think we were going to go out there and win 42-10? No. But did we think that we were going to be in a losing with 7 minutes left in the game? I don't think that either.
So we talked to Steven yesterday and mentioned Lenor Sellers' play and the fact that, Coach Beamer already mentioned this week, Coach Loggins mentioned this week, almost everything that he didn't do right are almost all that's correctable. How quickly does it get corrected, Perry? I guess we don't know the answer to that till we see him play this weekend, but
yeah.
What'd you think about Lenor? It just seemed to me like he was a little off, maybe a little anxious, maybe not. I don't know. What'd you see out of him?
Honestly, everything I listened to him talk, or maybe it was a tweet I saw, I can't remember, but everything he said was the exact which leaves me to be really encouraged, was he is a really good self-evaluator, which is very important playing that position. Everything he said is what I saw. Maybe a little nervous, maybe a little jumpy, maybe rushed a little bit instead of slowing down, relaxing, playing his game. There were a couple times that, in my opinion, as somebody that coaches quarterbacks, there were a couple times that he could have climbed the pocket and ran more north and south instead of coming up and then trying to boot around. And we talked about that last week. That was a couple of things I wanted to see. I wanted to see him climb the pocket and run north and south versus trying to run laterally, because in high school, he could step up, boot around, gone, right? And good luck tackling that dude in the open field at the high school level, or really any level for that matter. But everything he said, he was spot on. I just think he didn't look comfortable. And not that he's not a good quarterback. It was his first game as a redshirt freshman. And what is he, 19, 18 years old? So, and we talked about this last week too, and schedule doesn't slow down. You go on the road, and I guarantee you Lexington is going to have a packed house. It's going to be crowded. It's going to be loud. And Kentucky's got a hell of a defense and defensive front that's not really going to make him comfortable. So he's unlike, some of the quarterbacks around the country. He hasn't had time to get his feet wet, right? It's trial by error and best of luck. And you're going to take your lumps, and you're going to have to learn as you play.
That's a great point. It goes back to what we've been talking about for months around here. At least I know I've said it. And I don't think it makes me a genius. If Carolina wants to win games, especially early in the season, it's going to be on the back of their defense. We'll get to them here in just a minute, though. All right, but what can make him comfortable, especially early? I don't necessarily want you to, be Dowell Loggins. I'm not asking you to, you weren't in the booth. You don't know what's called and what isn't called and what they're comfortable with and not comfortable with. But it did seem at times like maybe there's some things right early in the game that probably could have done this a little different, maybe to get him a little bit more, a little bit more sturdy.
Well, yeah, I think that it goes back. It's the same thing I say every year. I'd love to go back to a recording and see if we have all of the years that we've done our shows together, JB.
We do. We have them.
All of the things I've said each week is, especially beginning of the year, what are we going to do to get the quarterback in rhythm, right? Mm-hmm. It's like golfing. If you get out there and you have a good pace of play and you have a good hole and you start to feel it a little bit, and then you put a couple pars together, you sneak in a birdie, you're feeling good about yourself. And it's all a mental thing. It's all confidence, right? Rhythm doesn't really exist. It's all mental. It's all confidence. Do I feel that I'm confident enough to take that next step, make that throw, see the field in a way that I otherwise might not, because when you're in that cloudy, congested, I don't feel comfortable vibe when you're out there, it looks like there's 15 guys on defense. But when you're feeling good about yourself, you're like, where's everybody at? Why does there only look like there's one guy out there and our guys seem to just be open all the time? And so it's more of a mental psyche. And then with your first game, then you start out and you're not playing well because you're not getting those completions that you want. Then it's in a tight game. Next thing you know, you're sitting there thinking, like, how the hell are we in a tight game with ODU? It's my first start. And it all kind of snowballs. So we've got to get the football out of his hand to somebody else with a positive game early, like first 2 or 3 plays. I don't care if it's a orbit motion fake bubble or it's a off coverage catch and throw a hitch. I don't care what that looks like, but that's what helped me as a player. I know it's helped my quarterbacks over the last 8 years of coaching them. And it gives guys the opportunity to get that rhythm early. And when you do that, you got a good chance to and really, in my opinion, I think that doing that to start each drive is incredibly important because each drive is its own game, right? You may have had a great, easy touchdown drive, the 5 minutes ago, but you come back out on the field, it's a brand new deal, right? New set of downs, new defense may have made some adjustments. Offense is trying to do different things. So there's a lot of moving pieces. It really is. It's a game of chess out there. It's not checkers, especially when the coordinators are trying to attack one another.
Perry, don't you think we talk about quarterbacks getting into a rhythm, I've always felt like play callers get into a rhythm too. And one of the best, very well, Steve Spurrier. If Steve Spurrier got into a rhythm,
night.
good luck.
It's over.
He put these defensive coordinators back on their heels, and it was their worst nightmare when that thing was clicking and Steve had it rolling. Doesn't mean he was on fire every game. So you hit on the key thing. Like it nobody thought the game was going to look like that in the fourth quarter where you're trailing with 7 minutes to go. So now all of a sudden as a play caller, you want to know how you can lose a job real quick, lose week 1 to Old Dominion after going 5-7. So all these plays that looked real good leading up to that game, you're going to go with what you feel is the most safe, comfortable play call, correct? And that's where it became very conservative. Maybe this week you could actually get a lead, get a little more aggressive, and then get into a rhythm. As Lenor gets into a rhythm, also have your OC get into a rhythm. Is that the goal here? I would imagine.
Yeah, no, you nailed it on the head, Mike. It's a combination, and again, I can't overemphasize. I've only called plays for 2 seasons. I'm not doing it this year. The last 2 years at Cardinal Newman, it really is. And when you're in a funk as a play caller, man, it sucks the energy right out of the offense, and they know it. The kids know it. And if you don't have somebody to go out and make that play to get those positive gains, and you always feeling like you're having to craft the perfect play for the perfect look, it's hard, man. And that goes back to my saying is that even as a play caller, your psyche, and maybe I'm speaking more out of terms now as a play caller because it's been so long since I was a player, right? But you want to see +5, +10 yard positive gains, right? Everybody loves the explosive play, but can I get positive yards on every single play? That's really the goal. And then when you have your shot plays, that's when you've got to take it, right? I think that anytime you're in the striking range, which is when you cross that 50, you got to be taking a shot. It doesn't mean drop back, send everybody on a go route, pat, and here comes a hand grenade. It's like, let's press this ball down the field and make them play defense, right? The thing that I took from Coach Spurrier that I took as a quarterback for him and then called plays, I tried to call plays a lot of how he would, in the sense of you be the aggressor. And sometimes it's of detriment. I remember last year we were playing a team, we were up big, and they were kind of climbing back, and we had a couple of turnovers, and all we needed to do was continue to run the football. Well, we got down to the 30, and I thought it'd be a great idea. It was coming out of a timeout that we were going to get in like a big 13 personnel, 1 back, 3 tight ends. We're going to fake it and kind of slip our tight end out, kind of like an inside release and deep corner route. And quarterback underthrew it, threw a pick. Corey was like, "What the hell are you doing, man?" And I was like, "I can't help it. You got to take your shots and you got to go for it." And I think that that aggressive style of play, it's fun to watch as a fan, but it's, for a team that might not have the plethora of talent like in Alabama, that's how you can really put pressure on teams and make them, as you said, be on their heels to guard you. And then when you hit those big plays, the amount of confidence that just flies through your offense, and especially a young quarterback like that, it is so important to get him confident early.
Perry, last week, when you include the kneel downs and the sacks and things like that, of course, those numbers go into this, but 56 carries for 174. I think we can all agree that Rocket Sanders really actually ran the football well, 24 for 88, 3.7, but 56 carries, that's 71% of the time that the ball was snapped, it was on the ground. I would venture a guess that's going to probably need to balance itself out just a little bit more. What do you say about that?
Man, I tell you, for the first game, I loved it. I loved the because, to be honest, that's where we're going to be more heavy on that side of it. And I would be shocked if we got anywhere close to 50-50 this year. Okay. And I think the reason for that is there are so many plays throughout the course of a game. How many times did Sellers throw? Was it 22?
23, yeah.
23 times. there are so many plays throughout the course of the game. It's like, yes, in theory, you'd love to be able to throw a hitch route every play, something nice and easy and comfortable for him to throw. But eventually there's going to be that third and medium or that second and long where you've got to drop back pass. And with a young kid, the defense is, but the difference between the complexity of a defense between high school and college, it's not even the same. Now they're playing the same coverages, yes, but the way they line up, the way they play those coverages, their pre-snap and post-snap rotation. What does all that look like? How to protect yourself on zone pressure? Are they bringing 4 to one side? Do you know to change the protection from sliding left to right and then being able to ID coverage and then step and make a throw? That's so much pre-snap, and to do that for 3.5 hours, all while still having the same physicality that all the other positions have. It's a bear unless you garner that experience. Putting that on a young kid's shoulders like that, not a winning strategy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that there will be a little bit more balance. I think getting back into the quick game and some true bona fide play action where the ball's in the running back's gut and it's faked coming out of a 3-step drop and it's 1-2, 1-2. It's not a full field progression that requires lots of patience in the pocket and lots of time to throw. Because at the end of the day, that's it's hard to do, especially against the team that we're playing Saturday.
Defense. Outside of a couple of big plays, the quarterback sneak that went for a touchdown and the deep ball that went for a touchdown. Outside of that, they were lights out. And the defensive end position, Perry, it's changed quickly here at Carolina.
Yeah, overnight you insert those two dudes and it has changed overnight. I'm not as concerned as a fan, or if I was coaching, I would be more concerned, obviously, of the deep ball, of letting the guy run right past you, right? Because you didn't have the proper look, in my opinion. He wasn't looking at the right guy, which is why the guy ran by. The quarterback sneak looked like somebody kind of got out of their gap alignment and they went full cover 0 or cover 1. And, the quarterback made a guy miss after being untouched for 20 yards. That's kind of I don't want to say a lucky play, but it's kind of like a hokey play where sometimes, that happens. I mean, you see teams play the best of the best and that happens, right? But other than that, I thought they were sound. They played ultra physical. I think Debo Williams, that linebacker, that kid is a stud.
Yeah.
He flies around the field. And I like what Coach White's doing. I love the mix and the in and out of the 3 safety defense with the 3 down line and then the 4-2-5 and going back and forth. And what I liked how they played the 4-2-5 and the I guess you call it a 3-3-5 or the 3 safety defense. It wasn't just, okay, it's 3rd and long, I'm going to go put the 8 guys into coverage and rush 3. It'd be 2nd and 5 and boom, you're seeing 3 down line and kind of that 3 safety shell as well. And I think that as a defensive coordinator, and then on the flip side as the quarterback OC, when guys are interchanging defensive looks and whole different structures on the back end, hell, and in the box, it puts a strain on opposing coaches. And the one thing that you can get yourself into trouble is by catching yourself when you run the football, not having enough guys in the box to stop that run. But for whatever reason, man, even in the 3 down line, we've stopped the run really well, even dating back to last year. So I think Coach White's done a great job of playing his cards right, and then now he's got some cats on the defensive line to really put a bind on what they're doing.
On the 2 touchdowns, it looked like DQ, and Shane mentioned this in the press conference. He's right. You still got to keep the guy in front of you, but there was definite miscommunication. I mentioned this earlier this week. Lewis Riddick on the broadcast, the Florida State broadcast, mentioned most bust in the secondary because you don't communicate. That's just and it happens more often than you think. And then on the quarterback draw, Clayton White, and I like this because it's aggressive. He sent 6, and I think Jules spun the wrong way and got bounced out of what he was, and then there was just nobody there.
Yep.
So sometimes when you blitz 6 like that on a play down there and got a running quarterback, it's nobody's there. That's just how it goes. But those were the only 2 kind of bad plays, I thought, by the defense the whole game. A little bit, they need to clean up. They need to maybe hold 3rd down a little bit more, 50%. That's a little high, but
yeah,
it's hard. They won the game for the team, so it's hard to say much about.
Yeah, it is.
I think DeAndre Jules needs to play more. That's about all I got to say about the defense, because he was outstanding.
It wasn't even a called run that the kid ran on. It was a pass play that the Red Sea parted, and he just made a play, right? And I mean that's football. You're going to have people make plays. The miscommunications, you hope that doesn't happen moving forward. Again, it's the same thing we talked about last week, is that first game being out there, the crowd and that whole 9 yards, what was that going to look like? And man, they shored it up after that. But I think they only had 300 yards of total offense. The one play was 70 yards, and the other play was 35. You take those out of the equation, that's tough.
It's like 150 yards of offense.
Yeah, it's a tough evening for Old Dominion offensively. And looking at you forced 4 turnovers. You're looking at the quarterback at the end of the game, kind of, when it was zooming in on his face, he looked like he was weathered. He looked like he had been beaten and bruised and under pressure. And I love these videos that are kind of circulating on Twitter of Dylan Stewart's pass rush moves and how he was evading and avoiding blockers. I mean, some of the bend that this dude had, I mean, he'd run up, sink underneath you, and bam, he didn't break stride. And, I mean, he showed every bit of why he was as highly recruited and as highly touted as anybody that's come here to play football.
Gamecocks have won 2 straight in the series. They've given up an average of 14.66 points per game in the last 3 games. Carrie, that's my wife. You're Perry. Perry, your keys to win.
Perry, Sherry.
Well, I was going to say Perry and keys. I just get it. You get it. Perry, your keys to the game this weekend. Kentucky, of course, has big number 0 there on the defensive line. Deion Walker. He is Javon Kinlaw plus 40 pounds. Probably going to want to try to run the gas out of him if you can. So your keys to the ball game before we get you out of here.
If we don't match their physicality on both fronts, they're going to run us out of the building. And, and I say that, and every year we've played them, it's been a dogfight with Coach Beamer, right? I know we came up short his first year at home, but man, if we're gonna win this football game, it's going to be because of the defense and offensive line. And as long as clean up some third downs, keep the big plays in front of us on defense, and then offense, let's get Sellers into a rhythm of a pass game. But if we rush the ball 50 times for 75, 80 yards, it's not going to be a good evening. But we're able to crack a few big plays. Explosive plays on offense for us has got to be the key to the game, because that Kentucky is banking on us trying to run the football, and that's kind of, we're playing into what they do well. Explosive plays, and we win the game.
Perry, I'm just kind of giving everybody a heads up here. I am not feeling good. There's a good chance that if things go downhill Saturday, this is going to take over my body, and I will be sick for at least Monday and Tuesday. But I'll make it back on the air before Perry's back next Thursday. But I don't think that's going to happen. Explosive plays, I'm with you. Hey, man, I know we got to get you out of here. We're going to let you run on that note. Great stuff, as always. This is brought to you by protectwithbear.com. Right to bear for the responsible gun owner, as low as $15.41 per month. Training, education, self-defense. Perry, they can find you there, right? They can just head to the website, protectwithbear.com.
Good. Let us know if you got any questions. We got our customer service stuff right there and ready to help protect everybody. So appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely. Always.
Thanks,
Thank
Perry.
you, my man.
Hey, man.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Perry.
The great Perry